Now, we talked just a moment ago about getting out of debt. If you don't have any debt, don't get into debt. Just kind of disregard that, enjoy it. You already have the victory in that. Now we're going to talk about building your credit worthiness. I started with the 3 different agencies that monitor your credit. That's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You want to find out where you're at in your credit building goal. And then once you know where you're at, you should have your number, you should know what's on your report. It even gives you history. It shows you things like what happens when you pay on time, what happens when you pay your credit cards off, what happens when you leave a little on there. Because all of those things, those situations all determine the rise and the decline of that special little 3-digit number that determines whether or not you're credit worthy. So credit cards. One of the first things I had to do to reestablish my credit was to get a credit card. You can do that in a couple of different ways, and I'll just tell you the ways that I tried that worked for me. And I tried several different ways, but I'm gonna give you the ones that actually worked for me. The first thing I did is I went to my local credit union. I opened a savings account with them, and I opened a secured Visa. I got a secured Visa. And basically, you take a chunk of money, and I started with $500. If you don't have that, that's okay. You can start with $100. All you really want to do is start the process of your credit being tracked. So I got a secured Visa, and I bought my gas with it. And as soon as I bought my gas, I jumped online and I paid the balance off. And I did that just to kind of get things going. So I'll give you my score, okay? Don't laugh at me, but I'm gonna give you my score after everything tanked. I was in the 500s, like 580 something. If you're low like that, and that can happen for someone who's just trying to establish credit, trust me, a secured Visa or a secured credit card is a very, very safe place to start, because you're not borrowing money from somebody else. You're borrowing money actually from yourself, and you're building your credit worthiness with your own money. So I started with a secure Visa, and I did that for maybe a year or two. And with the reporting from that, I was able to take my next step, which was a department store credit card. And doing that, I was buying my kids' school clothes or, myself clothes. So I went to the department store where I shop the most. And for me, that was Macy's. And so I applied for a department store credit card. And I remember when I first got the card, I think I maybe had $600 as a limit on it. And I did the exact same thing that I did with the secured Visa. I would charge our clothes, for the school year or for summer. And then as soon as I would stand there, as soon as I made the purchase, I would stand there at that register and pay off everything that I just bought on the credit card. And I did that for another year or two. By the time I hit 3 years, my score had taken a jump. And so I was comfortably in the 600s, and I was ready to get a larger Visa with a larger company. So I went and got a credit card with Chase Bank. So if you travel or if you're one of those people that like points, you want to make sure that when you are looking for a credit card company, a banking institution to get your credit card with, start looking at some of the other values they have with you getting the credit card with them. Because yes, we're trying to build our score, but we're not just trying to, make somebody else, amazing by buying stuff and then giving them our money. I want something extra in return for me being loyal to your credit card or to your banking institution. So I went with Chase Bank because they have a credit card that's attached to Southwest Airlines. And so whenever I made a purchase, I wasn't just making the purchase and getting points with Chase, I was also getting points to travel with Southwest. And that's how I was able to start having family vacations again, because I would build these points just by using the credit card for gas and then paying it off, groceries, then paying it off. But I wouldn't go super max. I would just, whatever I charged, I paid it off, but it gave me points. And so in doing that, it not only built my credit worthiness again, that took me to the 700s after a year or so. And so just doing that out of debt, those 3 cards, boom, 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 I was able to close the secured Visa one. I held on to the department store one, And then I got the one with the banking institution, which for me was Chase Bank, but every bank has them. Just find out which benefits that come along with the card that work best for you. But for me, that was those travel points. I wanted those travel points, and then my score started to go up. And then another really cool thing happened is, without me asking, once they see how well you are with not just charging, but charging and paying off your card, and your score is going up, they might do something like increase your limit for the card. Now, this is not something I had to ask for. This is just something that they did. But in them doing that, it gave me more buying power. And when you have more buying power, more a higher limit to purchase things with, it does reflect in your credit score. So you want to make sure that as you're building and growing and paying things off, that you're doing it consistently and regularly, because what will happen is it'll increase your buying power. And so once I had that, I took a leap and I looked into getting a credit card for my business. And so I went to the same banking institution because they offered something by way of business, and I was able to qualify. So again, in qualifying back here, starting with my secured visa, it set me up for my company to have a credit card, and again, building out those travel points. So whenever I would make a large purchase, and I'm gonna get to something really cool that I was able to do recently, but once I get to making these larger purchases, of course, I'm accumulating more travel points. And so for me, that was super beneficial, because as I started to grow and my company started to grow, we started having to travel, and that was an expense that did not come out of my personal budget or my company budget, but out of the points that we accumulated with the credit card. So again, as you're looking to build your credit worthiness, make sure you're looking at things that offer an added benefit, because they need you as a customer. So you want to make sure that their loyalty programs like points is beneficial for you, your big picture, and your forward motion. I'm gonna also offer you a couple of things that I use to monitor my credit worthiness, and that's Credit Karma. It's an app. I use it on my phone. It pings me whenever someone's looking at my credit report. It also helps me to see what I need to build in order to make larger purchases on credit, like a house or a vehicle. Okay, so that really cool thing I was gonna tell you about. Recently, my daughter, she got into a car accident. It wasn't her fault, but she needed to get a new car, and she'd saved the money. She had the money in the bank, and then, you know, she got some kickback from the accident. So she was able to buy a new car. And again, in my house, I don't just practice debt freedom and, you know, building proper credit worthiness, but I also teach my kids that. And so she knew, okay, Mom, we're gonna go get this car. I'm gonna pay cash for it. But because I'd taken the time to build my credit and to become credit worthy and to have credit cards, I was able to purchase her car on one of our credit cards. And then same day, we were able to go in with cash and pay the card off. And guess how many points we got for doing that? We got enough travel points to take care of our summer vacation in one purchase. So these are some of the benefits that you'll gain as you build your credit worthiness. And this is all like a report card. Are you a trustworthy person with somebody else's money? That's really what people are trying to establish with this system. So keep in mind, you are, if you have kids, or if you're looking to do things like bigger purchases like homes, for investment even, you want to make sure that on paper, this number, your credit worthiness, is very high, very clean, and be very, very sharp when it comes to your purchases and your alignments with which banking institutions. It's not necessarily the card that you can get the easiest, it's the cards that's gonna work best for your big picture. I know that our focus has been mostly credit cards, but there are other ways that you can build your credit worthiness, and that's if you buy a car on credit. Again, if you have a decent credit score, you can go in and purchase a vehicle. And again, you want to have the same practice. Pay it off as quickly as you can. I personally, depending on the kind of vehicles I get, I try to pay them off within a year or two, just showing that track record of not just being able to pay the monthly, but pay the monthly and then pay towards principal, just so that they can see I have the ability financially to not make the minimum, but make a chunk. And again, that's all reported back to, wait a second, not only does this person, do they have the ability to make a large purchase, but they also have the ability to pay it off quickly, and they did it on credit. So it all works to your benefit. And I know that there's some like negative stigma when it comes to credit cards, but that's only when you can't pay for the purchases you make. So you can definitely use credit cards as a way to build your credit, as a way to make larger purchases, and as a way to establish yourself as a heavy hitter who can not only make large purchases, but also pay them off. And it always, always works to your benefit, especially when you want to become a homeowner or invest in things like real estate or rental properties, etc. So you want to make sure that you're not just intentional about using them, but also paying, especially as soon as you use them. Now, there's another really neat way that, especially if you have kids, because I'm always thinking beyond myself, I'm always thinking legacy. Another really neat way to build credit for your kids is, as you're building credit, why don't you add them on to your credit by getting them a credit card in their name using their social security number? What happens is they become a rider on your credit, and it establishes their credit worthiness based on your credit worthiness. So if you're like me and you don't ever want your kids to be $600,000 in debt and in trouble and struggle, and you want to take them to the next financial level so that they're off to a good, strong start with a good, strong credit number, add them as a rider on your credit cards, the one that has like the best of the best, the highest limit, and make them credit worthy before they even need to use credit. And that's a practice that I learned from my coach, who's done this for many, many years and taught me how to do it, and it's definitely paid off. Remember, I told you my daughter just bought a car. It was on her credit, and then she paid the whole thing off. Guess what that did to her credit? Now, I'm sharing this with you because I know sometimes you can look at that debt number, or you can look at that credit score and think, oh my gosh, how am I ever gonna get there? I'm telling you, it's totally possible. I was almost $600,000 in debt, and I had a score that was below, comfortably below 600, and that's not good. That's not good for if you want to go get a house, that's for sure, or a car, or something that's going to help you feel safe and secure. But I'm telling you all of this so that you can see it's totally possible, and all it's going to take is focus, commitment, accountability, and a seriousness on your part about what you want to do in your future as far as an individual and your buying power. So look, adopt any of these steps, or just take one step. Just make one envelope. Just put debt and start putting some money in it and start knocking stuff off. Or look and start researching the different credit cards. Start with the ones that work for me, or find the ones that will work for you, but do your homework and get started. The only way that anybody really truly can do anything great is if they first take a step. So even if it looks impossible, I'm just strongly encouraging you today, it's not. It's totally possible, but you got to get started. So my hope is that that helped. If you have questions beyond this, I'm going to put all my info at the end of this video. We got you. It's totally possible. It's possible for you to have no debt. It's possible for you to have great credit, and it's possible for you to build your buying power that doesn't just affect you, but it also affects your kids and anybody that you want to support. So listen to me. You're going to have so many opportunities to grow and change your life just by building your credit worthiness. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll have more for you next time.